Welcome to Kickin' It with Coach K podcast. This is episode 29. I am here with Coach Zimmerman. He is in the house with us from Clintondale and Legacy. We are going to jump in with Coach and his story here in just a minute. I appreciate him joining the show today. This is a guy who I've heard a lot of great things about. We have some mutual coaching friends and some people that maybe we look up to or have learned off of in common. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming on, and we're going to dive into your story here in just a minute, my man.
I appreciate it, brother.
So this show is brought to you guys today by Brain Jerk Entertainment and Kennedy Health and Wellness. Welcome to the Brain Jerk era. For those of you who tune in every week, you know this by now, but anybody who's just now tuning in, I got to tell you, every week, these guys have an incredible podcast network here at Brain Jerk. They have all types of different content for somebody every day of the week, whether it's wrestling, pillars in our community, whether you just want to wake up on a Monday morning and talk about what's going on in your week and mental health. These guys have something for everybody, I'm telling you, and you can find them Monday through Sunday. They're putting on some kind of show. Again, they go live on Instagram and YouTube, just like we are today on this show. But this podcast network is growing, and I'm telling you guys, the content that they already have is getting better, and they're adding new ideas all the time. Things are really, really developing here as far as that goes. It's incredible. Again, you guys can make sure that you stay tuned. These guys also do some events in our area and put on some really great things for your family or you and your significant other or all different types of situations. So make sure you check these guys out and stay tuned on everything they have going on. Kennedy Health Wellness is your one-stop shop for everything wellness, from body care to candles. Again, shout out to my wife. She is the heart and soul behind that. I just basically do the paperwork and some marketing stuff for her, but she's the heart and soul and the engine behind it. We just launched our fall stuff on KennedyHealthWellness.com, and we are getting ready to bring our fall stuff out to Living Life Gifts in Vassar and also Krebs Apple Barn in LaSalle. So make sure you guys check us out. We got a lot of good stuff coming this fall. This is our best time of the year for that side of our business. So make sure you check us out. We have several sponsors of the show that we want to give some love to tonight. Amaya's Fresh Mexican Grill, The Little Brown Jug, Lane's Pizzeria, IWR, Nerdy Designs, All Heart Athletics, who, of course, supports this show heavily, supports us in our community heavily with all of our different schools and programs. They're incredible. Same with this next one with Monroe County Sports Network. If you didn't catch the last show, Monroe County Sports Network just put out a poll, and they want to know who should be the Monroe County football game of the week, week one. And I need you guys to go ahead and go vote. You can choose between Flat Rock and Dundee or Erie, Mason, and Jefferson. Obviously, you know where my heart lies on that one. We'd like to see them out on the sidelines at Jefferson Friday night as we go take on the Bears. But make sure you go vote. 1817 CrossFit, Big Back Prep, Backroad Baggers, and our newest sponsor, Jazzy Steak Burger. So shout out to Jazzy. Make sure you go try a burger. And I've heard that their fries are hand cut, and I've heard they're delicious. So make sure you go check out Jazzy and get you some good food. The only thing we really have coming up, or what we got coming up, is it's football and volleyball season. So camps are done, clinics are done, flag football's over. All the kind of spring, summer activities have wrapped up, and it is now time for fall. It's time for football and volleyball. So we are locked in. And again, hopefully everybody has a safe football and a safe volleyball season. Let's have some competitive games, and, may the best team win. Quote of the day: I try to do the right thing at the right time. They may just be little things, but usually they make the difference in winning or losing. It's by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So the reason I chose this quote is because we always try to make it kind of pertain to the person that we have on the show, Coach. And again, I think you're somebody who takes pride in doing the details, right? And making sure small wins add up to big wins, and just doing what you think you're supposed to do and what's right. And I think that was a perfectly fitting quote for today.
I agree, brother.
So before we jump in, Coach, our read of the day is Doing the Impossible by Patrick Bet-David. We always have a read of the week, and PBD is somebody that I listen to quite a bit as an entrepreneur. But even as a coach, there's a lot of things I can take away from his leadership. But that book, again, is about doing the impossible, 25 ways to kind of defy the odds and do things that others deem impossible. So, again, make sure you go check that out. They do have it at Barnes and Noble. Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Yeah, man. I played high school football over at Anchor Bay High School, Macomb County area. Went on to play over at Siena Heights University, college football. Got hurt the first day of pads, tore my labrum in my shoulder, was already partially torn pretty much. Long story short, a couple of surgeries later, it ended up being, hey, you're probably done playing, man, unless you want to get, 2 more. And by that point, I was already 2 in, and it was like, hey, like it's probably time to hang it up.
Right.
Didn't know what I was gonna do with my life, man. It was crazy time. 19-year-old kid, you think you have it all planned out, then all of a sudden life hits, and you're like, oh, I guess I don't. So went over to coach at Anchor Bay. A couple kids that were sophomores up on varsity when I was a senior were begging me to come coach, and coached over at Anchor Bay for 2 years. Went over to Centerline for 5 years. That's where I got involved with public education in my time over at Centerline. Never thought in my life I'd be working in public education. Up to that point, all I cared about was money pretty much. And hey, how do I make money? Yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And fell in love with working with kids and helping kids get to where they need to get to. I had an opportunity to open up for a college advisor job over at Centerline High School, helping the senior class fill out FAFSA, college apps, scholarships, all this other type of stuff, and fell in love with it. And developed from an O-line coach, strength and conditioning coach over at Centerline High School. My undergrad degrees from Oakland University in exercise science with a health science with a concentration in exercise science and an emphasis in strength and conditioning. And fell in love with the coaching side of things. Obviously, that's kept on going no matter what. I ended up becoming, offensive coordinator over at Centerline, and like assistant head coach with Ben Torres over at Centerline, one of my best friends and mentors to this day. Eliminated my position over at Centerline, went over to Clintondale as a truancy officer. From there, started coaching at Sterling Heights Stevenson. So I was at Sterling Heights Stevenson the past 2 years. The first year there, we made the state semifinals as an offensive line coach. Ran the wing tee offense, which was new for me. That was kind of the big thing when I was looking for a new school to coach at. I was like, I want to go to a spread school. Learn more spread. And, I was a spread guy at Centerline High School. And all my mentors were like, hey, you need to learn the wing tee. And I was like, I really don't need to learn that. And they're like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And I was like, okay. Went over to Stevenson, had two Division I running backs over there, and probably had the biggest offensive line in the state that year too. And just Coach Newcomb, who's head coach over at Stevenson, probably one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life, to be 100% honest with you. And
shout out.
He was like, hey man, I'm an air raid guy. So if you think this is comfortable for me, we're going to be learning together. And, we grew it together. And Coach Ryan Reason, that was another thing over there was, oh, and by the way, it's going to be a co-O-line role, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Right.
And at that point in time, prior to getting at Stevenson, I'm not going to lie, I can self-reflect and say, the ego was involved a lot. And, hey, I was a young coach. I got a couple head coaching job offers. People were calling me and all this stuff. And I was like, co-line coach, I don't know. And ended up being one of the best things I think I've ever done, was going over there and learning under Ryan Reason, who was coached at Hope College, helped out at Michigan for a little bit. And Newcomb, obviously. Newcomb's the smartest X's and O's offensive mind I think I've ever met in football. I learned more in a 5-minute whiteboard meeting talking with him than I think I ever did at a Glazier clinic. And that's no disrespect to the speakers at Glazier. I think just that's how real of a person he is. So learned a lot. And then opportunity came up at Clintondale. I obviously worked there. I'm now the college and career readiness coordinator at Clintondale Community Schools. And opportunity came up to go run the offense. I was kind of talking with Coach Dave Schindler for the past 2 years about, hey, you ready to let me run it? You ready to let me run it? And it was, I think finally I annoyed him enough, and he gave me the keys to the offense and installing the spread offense over there. They were unbalanced spread a little bit last year. Prior to that, they were single wing for a lot of years. So it's new to the kids. We're having fun with it. I have a co-offensive coordinator that does the passing game, and Michael Johnson. He played Division I guy, played at Western Michigan, then went down to Wayne State to finish out as a running back, went up to Western as a receiver. So, great hands there. Quarterback coach is awesome, played college football at Houston. So we have a really talented young staff coming in, and the guys that were at Clintondale were amazing guys that have been around the game for 20 plus years. To be honest with you, Jim Steffler, Jason Mahalik, obviously Dave Schindler, and all those guys. So we're excited for this year. And then obviously, I almost forgot about it, director of recruiting at Legacy Football. So I help put on 2 of the camps every year, first Thursday in May, first Thursday in December. The college exposure showcases where we have over 40 to 50 schools and all the different college coaches. We usually have between 200 to 300 student athletes come out for those events, and offers are given on that day. Offers are given because of that camp. So we get the college coaches there. We put on that camp. Cody Patton and Justin Sassante, Lewis Adams, Legacy guys they're awesome human beings. They do it all for the right reasons, and I could truly say that was a big decision in coming in with Legacy in that organization, was that they do things right and they do things for the kids. Justin running lead, giving back cleats for kids, everything that they do over there, class A and grade A, type people. So been with Legacy for 3 years now. It's a blast. I work with players one-on-one out of there. I also help players just generally asking questions and that. We do seminars. I do, bi-monthly seminars and a bunch of other things. But it's a blast. It kind of goes hand in hand with my college and career advising, FAFSA, how to, if you are a Pell Grant eligible kid, how to maximize that aid, what schools work well with Pell Grant, LB in college gets kids down. If you're full Pell eligible, as long as you get accepted in the school, they get kids down to 8,500 before any type of student loans whatsoever. So, 5,500 in student loans and $3,000 work study and bang, nothing,
right. That's big.
5,500, but you get the point. I mean, here's the reality. A lot of people don't know this, but if you're not playing Division I football, you're paying something for school still. Mostly room and board at $11,000 a year. So when you have an opportunity at a, small school like Albion College, that has a great education, great football program and everything else, that's a, great opportunity for kids to get out of the situations they're in and get over to a spot like that, so.
No, I definitely agree with that. Out of curiosity, because this was a question later. So how did you get involved at Legacy?
Yeah. So I opened up my own company during COVID. I had all these college coaches coming. We had a very talented group at Centerline, Ben Torres, myself, Eric Spohr, a lot of these other guys at Centerline, Andy Norander. We, Ben really switched around Centerline. We had a lot of talented kids fall into our laps that came from messed up situations. Had a kid that came from Farmington, Harrison, that just got kicked out, fell in our lap, and ended up being one of our favorite kids we've ever had. True D1 kid, 4.5 40, everything else. It's not like we went out and got him, like just moved into Centerline. And he was there one winter, kept hearing stuff about him. We're like, did you even play football? And, small kid, wouldn't believe it. Most talented player I think I've ever seen. Devon Sears, that's now playing at Oklahoma.
Shout out.
Yeah. I mean, another guy that was from Lakeview. He was in, a program over there, and, mom moved into the area, boom, fell into our laps, So the quarterback was awesome. A bunch of other players, too many to name, but nonetheless, started just made a Twitter account, substitute teaching, made a Twitter account for coaching. And it was kind of like back then, it was kind of, I'm 28 now. I had to have been 21, 22 probably.
Okay.
So, 6 years ago. And, no one was doing that type of stuff a lot back then. It wasn't more, it wasn't like how it is now, where you go on Twitter and connect with any coach, wherever, and conversations. And started just hit up college coaches and sending out film like blasts on email and Twitter and posting film and doing all this stuff. Now you see a bunch of high schools have their own recruiting accounts and that type of stuff. And back then, no one was doing that. So, wanted to help get our kids out of the situations they were in. Had a lot of extra spare time living in my parents' basement, 22 years old, coaching, working as a substitute teacher, had a lot of spare time to, help out and do that stuff. So, started helping with recruiting, got into the college advisor role. From that college advisor world, learned everything about scholarships, FAFSA, how schools work with FAFSA, what school, the same thing we just talked about. And then all these college coaches were like, dude, you're so young, either get into college coaching or create your own company for recruiting to help more kids. There's more kids that need your help outside of Centerline High School. And
That's
at the end of the day,
incredible.
at the end of the day, you got to put food on the table for you and your family. Working in public education, that's always, the stigma's real. So,
Right.
hey, you can make a little bit of money on the side while you're still helping kids, feel good about it and everything, and you love it. It's it became my passion, to be honest with you. And I think that's the only thing that I dislike about the recruiting stuff. I think that's a tag that you get attached to you is, oh, he's just the recruiting guy. Where, my first love was coaching football. I've been an offensive line coach since I was 19 years old, and I've been everywhere with offensive line play and that. But the recruiting stuff, it builds relationships for years. I still get follow-up texts every year from most of my players that played for me, most of my legacy guys. It's crazy, and it comes full circle, and it's great, man. Helping kids get to where they need to get to, I guess, and I love it.
No, I think it's awesome, man. I love it as well. I mean, I think so. I think there's also like an area for it, because I think a lot of coaches don't, and I'm not speaking down on coaches, but a lot of coaches don't necessarily know how to get kids recruited or opportunities like that, or, to be honest, like, some coaches just don't care to try to get kids opportunities or offers like that, or don't care to try in a way that requires a ton of work. You know what I mean? So it might be one thing to welcome a coach from another school and say, hey, I got Tommy, and Tommy's 6'2", and he runs this and that. But then it's another thing to be, actively trying to make sure your kids find opportunities. And I think you kind of fill that void there. So I think you're incredibly important in that aspect. I think it's awesome what you do with that.
I appreciate that, brother. It's 100% that. There's a lot of people all the time talk about recruiting as a cash grab and this and that. And there's some that are. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna down talk anything on here whatsoever. I'm not that type of person. But at the same time, there are some. I'm gonna put your profile on a recruiting site. Guess what? Ask any college coach across the country. I'll call any of them right now and ask them if they have time to go on a recruiting site to look at something like that. They don't. And you got to get kids in front. You got to talk to guys. You got to network, and you got to build relationships. I think that's the biggest thing, man. It's everything in this industry. Of high school coaching, college coaching, life. It's about networking, relationships, and everything else. And we just went up to the UP, my girlfriend and I, for our annual trip before double start. And we did 4 days last year. We did a week this year. And I've sent kids to Northern Michigan, and I've sent kids to Michigan Tech. And by sending kids, helping them get there, right? At the end of the day, they do it all themselves, but it's just so easy to say, help them get there, right?
Right.
So, and I stopped into both when we were on our UP trip vacation for a week, and getting to see those two places and being welcomed like family, man, by Northern Michigan and Tech, and Coach Fantuzzi at Northern Michigan, Coach Thomas at Michigan Tech, two guys that I've known and talked to for 7 years now. They welcome me with hugs. It's like family when I go up. So it was an awesome experience, but that's what it's all about.
No, I definitely agree with that. 100%, man. I just wonder, like, how do you, after hearing kind of your background there, I just wonder, like, man, how the hell do you balance like strength and conditioning with ball, with with the everyday stuff, with the legacy work? Like, it seems like it would be a hard balance. And we're always proponents here on the show, and myself, of taking on as much as you can to really maximize what you do in this world. I feel like as people, we owe society and others whatever we're doing. And we owe to, so for example, I don't like saying that we all have a gift, but we all have some purpose, right? And I think we owe it to society to serve that purpose to the highest that we can.
100%. I have a tattoo on my arm. It's the only tattoo I have, and it says, "To whom much is given, much is required." And it's a biblical verse, and
Yep, I love that.
It resonates a lot with me, and it's one of my life missions, man. You give back as much as you can.
How do you balance it all, though?
You know, it takes a very understanding family, girlfriend, friend groups, social circles, everything else. And, girlfriend's cooking dinner upstairs right now while I'm here. And so this is supposed to be our chill Sunday, and I'm like, hey, I got to go on a podcast. She's like, okay. And then I'm like, yeah, then I still have probably about 3 hours of film breakdown.
I was just about to say, and then you and I are going to get off of here tonight, and we're going to go either come up with our scouting report, finish it, or more film.
I tried to get more done yesterday too. There's no real answer to it, brother. I'm sure you know that with everything you do too. Your hands are equally as full, and it's like, I did take a step back from strength and conditioning, and that was my first love in this industry. I wanted to be a college strength coach. I had the offers to go into GA and do stuff like that, and I took that role. I still help out at Clintondale a lot, obviously, don't get me wrong, but there's a Michael Johnson who played at Western, awesome dude. His dad runs a gym, and, they do a great job. So, don't really have to be as involved in the strength and conditioning world. But, I stay busy. I really do.
Definitely.
It's just communication and trying to balance it all, and staying organized. That's the best I can say.
Those are great points. I think the first point and that last point you made were phenomenal too. Stay organized so you control some of the chaos, and the part about having a support system that is understanding, I think, is like so beyond key. Because if you don't, something's going to sink fast. Either coaching's going to sink or your family's going to sink. If you don't have understanding, something's going to go right. And you can't, that's hard to deal with. I know a lot of coaches who have said that. I've met coaches who are like, I can't, I lost my family, or I lost my wife, or I can't do coaching because of this. Like I've literally heard those stories. And it's tough. I'm blessed too, to have that same situation where my wife, thankfully, and my kids, are very understanding. And the other thing is I try to keep them involved as much as possible. My little one will come to football practice with me sometimes and different things. Because even if she's not having the most fun, she's at least seeing why dad is there doing what he's doing. And she at least sees me interact with the kids, right? And she knows now that there's a bigger meaning than just dad's coming to coach some game.
I think that's huge. That's something Newcomb did at Stevenson too. Hey, bring your family to a practice. Let the kids meet your family, and let your family meet the kids. And it's not just, oh, dad's going to coach. I don't have any kids myself, but it's not just dad's going to coach football, or even from a girlfriend perspective.
Right, 100%.
My girlfriend's not been around football prior to me, really. Her dad's a huge Pittsburgh Steelers football guy, but not like, the coaching aspect of everything.
That was the same with my wife. Yep.
And so she kind of she got full engulfed into it really quick last year. And she's awesome about it. She plans and coordinates around the game and all that type of stuff. But letting them see, hey, this is why I do what I do. I have conversation. Everyone's like, oh, I take my football conversations outside, or I go downstairs, or I call a coach. Hey, I got to go downstairs, whatever. And no disrespect to those guys, but I'll have my conversation right in front of my girlfriend. So I want her to know what I'm talking about, what I'm doing. Like 90% of the time I get off the phone and she's like, oh my, wow. Like flabbergasted. Like, wow. Okay. I get calls from kids that need something, at 7, 8 p.m. That's just the reality of being a coach, right? And hey, coach, on this play on film, whatever, we're in bed watching a movie. Why are you on your phone? So-and-so texted me, asked me about play, whatever. She'll pause it and go, okay, go handle it. And she's used to it by now. I feel like she's immune to it, but it is what it is, right? It's part of the life.
No, and I love that though, man. I love that you've been able to find that. And again, I hope, I hope all coaches can find that, because you definitely need it. You need understanding. It's a, it's a lifestyle to this. And like you said, the call at 8 o'clock is a great example of what the lifestyle comes with, and you got to be ready for it. I told my wife, I was dead honest with her the day I met her, or the day we even started, not maybe not necessarily the day I met, but the first day we had like that deep conversation. Like, this is something that we talked about right off the bat, was like, hey, there's a lot that comes with it. And then, just so like August through, hopefully end of November, early December is going to be extremely, extremely busy.
That's,
You
that's
know,
kind of why we started our little trip last year, man.
that's a great idea too, though, Coach. Not to
Yep.
interrupt you, but man, what a great point, just to share that with the listeners. Spend time outside of football with them too, just so that they know that there's other things other than football that you still prioritize.
100%. She gets my 6'4", 300-pound butt out hiking and climbing mountainsides and everything else. It's a good little pre-workout getting into football season, man.
Right.
And we have a blast. We both, there's no service up there. That's the best thing, to be honest with you, because all summer long, you know how it is. You're engulfed into it. The kids are toxic. You almost blink, and all of a sudden it's 2 days. And that's the way I feel.
It's there. No, 100%.
And going from that to we're making an annual trip. We declared that last year. That's why we did it this year. But just a week away from everyone and everything besides just us. And
that's big.
The phone's off. I tell Clintondale, I tell every single one of my legacy guys, I tell legacy, no, that's my time. That's the only time I'm not answering a text. I'm not answering a phone call. I'm one of those people that I answer texts way too late. She talks to me all the time about work-life balance, and you do not need to answer a text at 11 p.m. at night. That can wait till 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay. And I've never been that person. I'm go, go, go. And I'm sure you are as well. And it's just, it never ends. But nonetheless, I highly, highly, highly encourage every coach that's listening or whatever, man. I don't care if it's a 2-3 day little trip. Go up to Traverse City, go up to Mackinac, whatever, but just makes life slow down a little bit before the chaos really, comes to fruition. So highly advocate for that.
Nope, I definitely agree. That's a great point, Coach. That's something we definitely think about and prioritize too. Just to tap back into this before I forget, out of curiosity, what made you, if strength and conditioning was really your first love in this, like, what made the mind change? What happened?
I wanted to bring this point up earlier to something you said, so it kind of goes hand in hand. I was reading a book, and I don't want to say that it made me not want to do it, but nonetheless, CEO Strength Coach by Ron McKeefer. I don't know if you've read it or not. Highly advise. Have you read it?
Yep.
Okay. And in the book, I grew up with a dad that worked 7 days a week. He was a Kmart manager. So we did really. I was a above middle class family, everything like that. Mom and dad both worked. My mom was a pharmacy tech. My dad was a Kmart manager, and they'd send them into each crappy store to fix it up, and then send them get the whatever, then send it to the next one. My dad worked 7 days a week, 12 to whatever, who knows, hour days, and he was always at every game, every important thing. Took all of his PTO days to take me on all my recruiting visits, because we visited over damn near 30 schools. And it was one of those things where family's important to me. Having that family time's important. I say all that, even though we just talked about how busy I am, but nonetheless, that's important to me, to be there for those things. And, in the book, he talks about, he's at a convention. Hey, I want everybody to stand up. Now, sit down or raise your hand. I don't know how it was, but nonetheless, sit down, raise your hand, whatever, if you know someone that has been divorced because of the sport of football, or someone, and it just goes on like this whole little chapter about hey, this strength coach life is not the glamorous life you see, everything like that. And then, he talks about how, that GA life for 2 years, then you're going to go internship, for a year or two. and then you're going to get into blah, 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 blah. He goes through this whole thing, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And it just kind of put things into perspective for me that, hey, I can still do this at the level I want to do it at the high school level and still help out and still use the knowledge and the degree that I earned. I was a certified personal trainer as well. Everything else, like I can still use all that to help at the high school level. I think that's a huge thing. I've gone for head coaching job interviews. I've talked with, and that's a huge thing that, athletic directors, principals, et cetera, that are interviewing you bring up is like, oh, wow. There's the problem is in Michigan, the strength coach world is so unrespected, and not many high schools have a full-time strength and conditioning coach. Not many have a part-time strength and conditioning coach.
Facts.
So and that's a huge need and want in the state of Michigan, and it's for the safety of our kids. You're gonna get me on a whole different tangent, but
that's facts.
It's so important. And there's so much emphasis. At the end of the day, in college football, you want to know who you spend the most amount of your time with?
It's that strength coach. Yep.
Strength and conditioning coach. They literally shape people's lives. And we just don't do that at the Michigan high school level. I didn't really want to move out of state or look out of state. I didn't want to decide. The biggest thing was I decided I didn't want to go into the college coaching world. And around that time. And I've had college coaching job offers, as well for football. And it's just not a life I want to live, bouncing around, state to state, school to school. And some of that, there's a lot more reasons, but nonetheless, yeah. So it kind of took me away from like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a full-time strength and conditioning coach in Michigan. Fell in love with the college advising. The biggest thing too is I found that college advising job. It fell into it was a community. It was a nonprofit community service-based job. It was through AmeriCorps, and then it's through a company called MCAN, Michigan College Access Network. And they house us in dorms for a month or a hotel for a month and teach us how to be college advisors.
Okay.
And so I learned so much. I took the job originally like, oh, I get my own office and I'm not substitute teaching. That's the honest to God truth. I tell everybody that. And then all of a sudden start learning about the job. And the job, so it was very boring, very, it's like an accelerated master's class. And then all of a sudden, you get to start doing the job and you're talking to kids about real one-on-one. Like I have group things with kids too, and I have totally transformed how I do advising now. But nonetheless, you get a lot of one-on-one time with kids to figure out like what drives them and the need for trades, the need for I hate school. Okay. Well, let's figure out what we can get you into stuff. There's options and helping kids figure out where, once again, goes back to what I said earlier, helping kids figure out where they need to go. And that kind of took over. So it was like, okay, what else can I do in relation to this? And legacy recruiting definitely goes hand in hand. And obviously the football coaching goes hand in hand with all that as well. So
that definitely makes sense, Coach. Most definitely. I understand that sometimes, where you think you're going in life ends up changing based on circumstances, morals, values change. I've always said, man, that I've always believed in that if you don't recreate yourself and kind of evolve yourself, then life's going to be probably pretty tough for you, and you may not actually end up doing what makes you happy.
100%. That's the one thing, man. All my buddies work trades, and nothing wrong with trades. I obviously highly respect trades, and I push a lot of students that way, to be honest with you. But I had my one buddy say it to me a year or two ago. He's like, man, I'm jealous of you. And I was like, why? And he was like, you get to do what you love every day. When you talk about what you do, 90% of the stuff when we talk is about what you do or what you're doing. When you ask me how my day was, and I'm going to tell you it was hot, it was cold, it sucked, etc. He goes, you go on, an hour thing about, oh, so this happened, and you're excited about it. He's like, I can see it, and you're like, you love what you do. And that's the truth, man. People always all the time, oh, work's work. No, it's really not. I love what I do every day. I truly, and people can say BS and that's corny and whatever you want to say.
No, that's the
love
truth.
what I do every day. I do.
I respect the hell out of that. No, I don't, but to people who don't have it, it might seem corny, but to people who understand that whole, if you love what you do, it never feels like work. You never have to work a day in your life. Like that's
100%.
That's definitely a true thing, man, for sure.
Yep.
Coach, what's the biggest change or mark of growth for you coming into this football season? Like you as a coach, as a person.
Yeah, life changed a lot in between last season and this season. Bought a house, my first house, with
Shout
my
out.
girlfriend. Yeah, over here in Richmond, Michigan. She has a daughter, so and inherited a stepdaughter into the mix. She's 1 week on with us, 1 week with her dad, and you know, at the same time, so life changed a lot. Having to
Right.
prioritize, it's always been me, and focusing on me and all this stuff. And all of a sudden now you have two other people to, care about and to work for and all those other things. So life changed a lot. I feel like I grew up really quick at a younger, something my mentors always said was, Zim, at 21, you were 40 years old. And that's basically what they've said since day one. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I was still a kid, still, learning. I learn every single day still.
Right.
But I think, having to worry about that, having to prioritize, and it goes back to the organization of everything, having to be more organized and everything and go at stuff. I think the ego as I get older, I've always been a high ego guy. I can look the man in the mirror and I know what I am. I know who I am.
Yep.
I self-reflect a lot, to be honest with you. I'm one of those people. And once again, people can say that's corny, but I really
I'm the
do.
same way.
I psychoanalyze other people to a fault sometimes. And, but at the same token, I still do the same thing with myself. I really try to self-reflect into who I am, what I can do better, what I'm not doing enough of, and those things. And, I think the ego has really, that time at Stevenson, being a co-O-line coach, going back to just being an O-line coach after being a strength coach, assistant head coach, OC, O-line, everything in
Right.
between, and feeling, your little school, D4 center line. And, the biggest change too, like everyone asked me, like, okay, so you're at Division I Stevenson, MAC red football, state semifinal type team, Division I kids at that, et cetera. And now you're going to a school that has 350 students and D6 football and, no turf, no, that is blah, 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 blah. And I think the biggest thing was to really look back and go, okay, well, this is home. I work here full time.
Yep.
And if I want to see this, I want to see this school and this program succeed. This is home. So you can either, if I'm going to keep coaching somewhere else, you're basically not present where your feet are. One of my life mottos is be present where your feet are. Make every
Yep.
job, make your current job the best job, right? And I said, I'm a hypocrite, and I tried to look the man in the mirror and go, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go after it. So, growing up a lot, I don't know how else to phrase that. I'm sure there's a lot better of a term or a word, but growing up, prioritizing different things, being more organized, and just losing the ego and that, and just going after it for every other right reason. So I trying every single day more and more to do those things. I think that's the biggest change in between this year and last year.
I love that, man. That's super accountable. I think for somebody like you I think as men and as people, it's important for us to speak our truths, right? And to kind of admit, where we're good, where we know we do great things, where we're at fault, where we could get better, and all in between. And there was somebody, just to piggyback off of what you said, but Tim Grover, who man, I'm a big time he's a big time inspiration. I'm a big time fan of Tim. But Tim always says that when people win or lose, they never take enough time to sit and think and analyze who they are, why they won or why they lost, and what they're going to need to do the next go around when they go at their goal or whatever it is, whether it's, because it's very rarely can you win twice in life and do the same thing. You always got to tend to give a little bit more, right? So it's one of those things that Tim always talked about that I love too, is you do need time to sit and think and just kind of analyze yourself, who you are. I believe in, like, I'm big on the hiking too, man, and the walks. I'm big on sometimes even just taking a walk by yourself, just away from everybody. You need time for you to sit and think and kind of, take a look at who you are as a person and where your life is.
100%, man. We took a hike and went up to one of the highest points in Michigan. I forgot what it was, the Porcupine Mountains, scenic overlook.
Love
And
it.
it was completely quiet. She knows me. I know her very well. We both sat there, not even looking at each other, opposite sides. She's on a different platform than me, even. Sat there for, 10, 15, only 10, 15 minutes, you could say, whatever. But
It's all you
just,
need sometimes.
yeah, that's all, 100%, brother. And, just sitting there, just think about everything, think about that moment in time and everything else. I love that. I never was a hiker. We kind of just did it by default last year going up to the UP. Short little hike. All of a sudden, to see this water. We chased waterfalls in the UP. To the point where I think I almost like totaled my whole Jeep this year. So we chase waterfalls. And some are a lot more adventurous than others. She had me climbing on the side of a mountain, and let's just say, like, the whole time I am highly uncomfortable. And finally get to the where we needed to get to, and breathtaking view. And she's like, "See, I told you."
Worth it though, right? Take you out of your comfort zone and then give you that reward.
Right? Isn't that what you said earlier? Like, that's the same thing. You've got to constantly evolve and change yourself, right? I love that.
No, that's incredible, man. That's awesome. To kind of piggyback off this, we always ask this question every week. But what are your thoughts on mental health, my man, and how do you kind of prioritize it?
Yeah, huge advocate. I worked in a counseling office for the last 3 to 5, 6 years. So, I get to see it firsthand in school and kids. I don't really want to touch on it too much, but I had a student at my prior school that was at that point of, we called it flu and everything. And I was the person that he went to talk about that. And
incredible.
Yeah. It's crazy. Everything that's going on in the world, the stuff that kids are dealing with and all of that. I myself have gone and talked to a therapist for my own, life problems.
Same here.
This event and everything. To be honest with you, brother, I've said it for 2 years. I really probably need to get back to that, to be 100% honest. And I think, especially we as coaches, when we go to our players and say, "Hey, I go see a therapist." I remember telling a player that before. I was like, "Have you considered going to therapy?" He kind of looked at me like all sorts of sideways, and I was like, "I'm big bad Coach Zim, right?" And I'm like, I've gone to therapy a bunch of times. Everyone has problems, brother, and sometimes you just need a listening ear to talk. I mean, it's podcast, what you do, man. It's same. It's still talking. You're still venting. We're talking about real life stuff right now.
Oh, definitely.
Mental health and therapy, right? And so I actually was going. I actually entered a master's of counseling program at one point the year at Centerline that I became the OC over there, and I just didn't have time. I actually messed up my financial aid as well, ironically, prior to being a college advisor. So, so it just wasn't for me. I'm going to enter it into a leadership instead. But regardless of that, try to always give that outlook. We just had our coaches, the MHSA, added that, the mental health aspect of the training module, where you have to go through for the rules meeting, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. And I think it's a step, everything's a step in the right direction. But I think the biggest thing, we as coaches or if players are listening, man, ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. Everybody needs help at some point in this world. I can tell you that numerous times, how my girlfriend's a LPN at a mental health facility.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different substance abuse. The list goes on and on. But nonetheless, we both kind of walk similar walks of life, and I'm sure you understand this too. Sometimes you get home and you take it home with you. I think the biggest thing we can do as coaches, it's hard. It's so easy to say, like, "Oh, don't take your work home with you," whatever. But at the same time, you're going to, no matter what. I don't care what you say. I think that's where those walks come in that you just referred to. I've started doing those myself. She typically will go with me, but most of the time we don't talk too much. It's one of those, hey, like, she's there but she's not there type of thing, and it's bonding time, quality time, but at the same time you're just thinking. But you have to take care of your mental health. Does not matter who you are. The best thing is when you see these NFL and NBA guys talking out on it now and talking about the importance of it. And, I think that's huge right now. And we as coaches have a huge pivotal role in our athletes' lives. And to be that support system for them, offer them help and resources and everything like that. So I think it's a huge thing in this day and age, and I think we all have to be accountable for that, especially for our athletes as well. I think I might have missed a part of your question, but I think I touched on most of it.
No, I love it, man. That's a great answer. You definitely did. We there's always good answers that come about when we ask this, and everybody kind of looks at things, but we're just strong advocates for it, and we like to hear kind of everybody's thoughts and experiences with it. And again, just somebody like yourself, saying to other coaches, to other student athletes, like, yo, we are grown people and we have to go still get help too. Cause I think a lot of times too, our kids think that, like, almost like, not that coaches aren't human, but that, oh, my coach must have it all together and he must never deal with anything. And that almost sometimes takes away from their ability to talk to you. Right. So I think kind of letting kids know, like, yo, I'm grown and I've experienced a lot of stuff and I'm here to help you as you experience stuff, but I'm also human too, my guy. Like, I'm also going to learn as a coach. I'm going to even things on the field. Like, I tell the kids all the time, like, yo, I'm going to make bad play calls too, unfortunately. Just because it's
I just
part
had
of.
that conversation the other day, bro. I really did with a kid. He's like, I was like, Coach, it wasn't only blah 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 blah. He ran right into a brick wall, and I was like, Yep, that one's on me, brother. Call the
Yep.
formation the wrong way. I'm gonna make mistakes too, man. Just go into what you said. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, man,
absolutely.
definitely.
Look at it just like our kids. You said earlier with kids, kids look at you. I just had this conversation with another coach. He's like, Zim, wait till you have your own kid too. You're gonna want your kid to look at you like you're Superman. And
Yep.
he got into that conversation with everything. And the reality is, none of us are Superman. Going to what you said, and we're all human, and we
I
all have flaws.
I think one thing too, coach, and you can say whether you agree or not, but I think one thing, man, too, that is, like, I think it's harder for everybody right now to take care of their mental health, because I think in 2023 there's just a lot going on politically. There's a lot going on with the media, your phones. There's a lot of things that are shown now on media that necessarily weren't shown before, so you didn't know it, the extent of things, all these different challenges. And then on kids on top of it have it even more difficult, because kids just are having a between COVID, man, and the struggles from that, and just all the different challenges that kids face today, even the simple things, as far as, like, hey, man, I didn't have to struggle to get exercise because, like, we just knew we were going outside to play until the street lights came on. Like, these kids, like, struggle to stay in shape because now they want to sit on a tablet. Like, they just face a lot of challenges. We all do, but kids especially. And I think you have to work harder at it. And I think that was part of the points we made too, is like, you have to either drown certain things out. You got to talk to somebody. You got to go for walks, all the things we name. But I think you almost have to work harder now to keep your mental health in check than maybe you did before, just because of everything that you see now, everything that's right in front of you.
100%. My girlfriend's 33. I turning 29 in what, 2 weeks? That's yeah,
Okay,
like
so I'm 30, so we're all right in the same age group.
yeah, yeah, and and her and I were talking the other day, and we were sitting there going like, man, she had an 11-year-old at her work. She was telling me about blah blah blah, and I was just like, we had it so much easier. Where like, my mom still tells stories like, Zach, you were that kid that would not come. Like, I would get so mad at you because you
Yep.
would not come at the street. You would be that one to test the limits of, no, we're still playing kickball. No, we're still playing Red Rover, stuff like
Yeah,
that. We're like, we entertained ourselves. And it wasn't that long ago, I think, is the craziest thing,
it
right?
wasn't.
You said you're 30, I'm 20,
And we
it
grew up doing that.
but now kids grow up with iPads in their hands, and I always use the typical, you were an iPad kid. I have one of my kids. I take a lot of our kids out to college football visits, camps, and all this stuff, and I take them out to eat after a camp, and we're sitting there inside of Culver's eating, and I'm trying to talk to him, and he's like this, just and he's great kid, nothing against the kid, right? Like, awesome kid, truly.
Right.
Um, And I'm like, dude, you were an iPad baby, weren't you? And he's like, yeah, I was. And I was like, I could tell. I go, put down the iPad, put down your phone and have
Right.
a conversation. And he's like, I got you, coach. My bad. You know, and it goes right in.
Yep.
It wasn't a big deal whatsoever, but you know, just trying to establish that. But you know, going to what you said, it was a different time. And it's so crazy to think, you know, that wasn't that long ago in perspective. You know, kids grow up different.
I think it's another reason why coaches are important too, because I think like we're fighting a numbers game in football. I don't know about other sports because I don't necessarily study them as much. I mean, I know a little bit about volleyball and a little bit about basketball, but the schools that I'm around for both those sports, to be honest, have always had good numbers and always been good. So it's hard to kind of gauge, but I know football, obviously we struggle with numbers. And I feel like it's super important to have us coaches, man, too, because I know if you're really trying to build a program, you're trying to maximize every kid in the hallway that you can get to come out for the team too, especially football, right? And it's not just because we want, sometimes we need more guys to play, to be transparent, because we don't want a team of 15 kids, right, or 20 kids or whatever. But sometimes it's just because you want as many kids to kind of have an opportunity to be a part of the team, to get outside. Like, I genuinely think about that, man. When I see kids, I'll show up to open houses and stuff, or I'll recruit our hallways hard, and I'll see kids that I'm like, this guy could definitely just, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but like, this guy could definitely use some like outside, some vitamin D from the sun, some sports, some friendship. Like, he could really just use some camaraderie.
100%. You know, that's we just had this conversation. I had a lineman walk away. That's a nice sized kid, well put together kid, and he'd be a sophomore this season. And you know, he 6'2", 250 type kid. You know, dad's a bigger guy. Dad talked to me as soon as I got the job at Clintondale and was like, I'm so excited for you to coach my son. I've heard all good. It goes on this whole little thing, and was really looking forward to coaching this kid. And the kid struggles a lot with himself, situations at
Right.
everything else. And you know, he decided to walk away. And in that conversation of him crying and me, dad, and him talking, and him crying and being upset and all this other stuff, you know, I think the biggest thing I said to him was, there's those kids every single year that need football more than football needs them.
Ooh, big
And
point.
you know, and that's something that my mentors have dropped a line on me
Big
my whole
point.
life. He's one of Zim. He's one of those kids that he needs football more than football needs him. And you know, you got to try your best effort to get those kids to play and teach them. You know, but the biggest thing I wanted to with him, I was like, man, football saved my life. I could go on a whole little story about that. I'm not gonna blast it out, but at the same time, football saved my life more than once. And the life lessons I've learned through football have truly, not exaggeration at whatsoever, have truly made me who I am today. And that goes tenfold over. So kids need football. Kids need sports. Kids need someone to care about them. You know,
That's
and that's
facts.
what football provides, all those things in my
No, I love that. Hey, that is straight facts, all of that. And I've always said this, and I know I'm biased, but sports offer you a lot, but football offers you a little extra seasoning. I've always kind of said that. There's just a few little extra things that football can bring to the table that other sports can't, just because of the way the sport works, right? And I mean that on and off the field. I mean, to start on the field, it's simple. You got to have 11 people to trust in each other and do their job. And that's hard enough, right? In basketball, no disrespect to the sport, but man, you can have a sharpshooter that can kind of just light a gem up, and nobody else really has to do really much of anything if a dude's hot. And it's different, man. It's different. The things it takes, I think, to be great at football, which requires you to come together, or requires you to care about the guy next to you. Those type of things, I think, just makes the sport just have a little bit extra to it.
100%. 100%. Just went in that conversation the other day with my O line. I think O line's everything you just described 10 times over. And well, coach, I didn't trust them to get there. I go, well, maybe that's the problem. I did this, I went that way because I didn't trust it, whatever. And I go, you don't trust him to get there, you can't play on my whole line, man.
Yep.
You have a job to do. You got to trust the guy next to you. You got to trust that he's going to do what he's supposed to do. And if he doesn't, you got to be there to pick him up and help him out, not put him down. We have those conversations every day.
Yep, and let us coach him up, right? Let us do our job. We'll coach him up and encourage him. That's the way we always look at it. And nope, I definitely agree with that. Coach, I want to ask you this. Give me advice for a student athlete trying to play at the next level or be recruited.
Yeah. Biggest thing is, back in the day, camps were everything, but highlight film camps, man, network with as much guys as you can. I'm not just saying this because I'm part of Legacy. I promise you can fact check this all you want. I've been sending my guys to spots like Legacy for a long time prior to being involved with Legacy. You have to get eyes on you, and you have to put in the time and effort. Each of my guys I work with Legacy, I tell them all the time, just because you're working with me on the side, and that, like, you have to have skin in the game. You are going to, and college coaches aren't going to just talk. Most of the time it's me putting a college coach onto a kid, and at the end of the day, the kid takes over from there. They don't want to talk to me after that. And then from that standpoint, it's the high school coach and the kid and whatever,
Right.
You just try to make them aware of certain kids. But the biggest thing, Matt, in grades, I can promise you 100%,
that's a big point.
100% that it is 10 times easier to be recruited with a 3.5, 4.0 GPA. I know that gets preached so much, but it gets I feel like it gets diluted because of that. But it is so true. Like, I give 100 stories, truly and honestly, man, about a kid that I worked with that he was the same caliber kid with a 4.2 that my 3.5 kid was. But because he had that 4.2, he got like 3 times the amount of offers. Because at the same time, the athletic scholar, he was a D2 type kid. And when you're in that D2 realm with a 4.2 or a 3.5, that's a difference of maybe $7K a year in academic money, possibly, depends 100%. On the school. And so if me and you are the same offensive lineman and you have a 4.0 and I have a 3.5, it costs less to get you. Because at the end of the day, your academics are going to pay most of it. I have to throw less athletic scholarship at you. So they take that athletic scholarship, they divvy it out, and they have to give less to you and more to me. Which one are they going to take?
Wow, I don't know if people actually know that's how that works. That's a great point. I don't know if people actually understand the inner workings of that.
Oh, about how a college scholarship works like that?
Just about that in general. I mean, we do, but I just think just everything broken down right there, the grades in general, the process you just named, even everything down to if you're a guy and I'm a guy and we're both about the same dude, but my GPA is better. Just how that kind of domino effects, right? Like, no, I just think that's an incredible point for any kid who might be listening, any parent, or even coaches, but I'm hoping that a lot of coaches kind of know how that process works, but just anybody that I think there's some people that necessarily don't know that that's how that works.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And then the other pieces is film. Film doesn't lie. That's the greatest thing. That's the greatest thing, man. Film does not lie. I tell my O-line that all the time. Film does not lie. Well, coach, what I'm watching on film doesn't match what you're saying, man. I'm just letting you know. So, film does not lie. Your film's going to really be out there. Your 7-on-7 film is one thing. 7-on-7 is great, reps and practice and those things. But, with real football, film doesn't lie, man. A lot of times college coaches see guys at camps, and at the end of the day, they still want to see first 3 games of senior year, see how they develop, see how they go out there and ball and see how that translates for them. But the other part is camps, like I said. And if you're really interested in a school, don't go chase offers, man. That's you got me on 100 different subjects at once. I'm just trying to get them all in.
You're good.
Don't go chase offers. See it every single year. That Twitter feed's blown up with it too, all the time. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. With my guys, we narrow it down to like, these are the 3-5 schools we want to target, right? That are realistic too. First, we go through a whole realistic thing. That's the toughest conversation that you have. Then from there,
right, because every kid wants to be D1, right?
So did I. Guess what?
No, I definitely get it.
That's what I say to kids all the time. I was like, I was 6'4", 315 with a 315 pounds, a 3.4 GPA.
Right.
and was a good kid. I got accepted everywhere. At the end of the day, there's no excuse. I had the size, the 225, 25 times, blah, blah, blah. I could do whatever I needed to do. At the end of the day, guess what? I can sell. Here's the real self-reflection. I tell this to every single recruiting seminar I do. I wasn't a D2 kid, and I had a bunch of D2 offers, and I was not a D2 kid. Got recruited because of my size.
I would say big guy.
Yep, that's it. I was an NAIA D3 kid at best. That's the reality of the situation. I can look myself in the mirror and say that. I think that's the biggest part too. You got to be real with yourself. If you're running a 5 flat 40 as a wide receiver, we probably need to have that conversation of, you're not a D1, D2 wide receiver. The list goes on and on and on, but you get the point.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta be real with yourself, guys. It goes back to what you just said: mental health, self-reflection, those things. But make sure you're camping and you're spending your money correctly with camps. I think that's another big thing. Is everyone wants to go to the University of Michigan camp's very cheap, by the way, too, like $20. But we'll use Michigan's camp as an example. If I'm a 5'7" offensive lineman, how much of a benefit is it to go to the University of Michigan prospect camp?
See, a lot of my kids will ask to go to that. They'll go to that camp, but if we're being honest, it's a lot of kids in the area that are diehard Michigan fans. And yeah. I've always told them, like, hey man, if you want to go because you get to go on the field and shake Harbaugh's hand or whatever, like, hey man, that's, do your thing. Don't get me wrong. But if you're trying to actually go get some work in, get noticed, like there's also a camp down the road here or here that you could probably get a better look at and get some better work at.
Yep. That's the hardest thing. I think one of the most beneficial things I do with my guys as far as feedback is I'm constantly self-evaluating, like you and I just talked about. And I asked the families that I work with for honest feedback. And I even do it anonymous, a bunch of different ways. And one of the most beneficial things that I get back is our college camp session that we do in the spring, right before, well, not spring, like late winter, right, transitioning into spring, where we pinpoint the camps, we pinpoint good camps for them to go to and this and that, because they're like, oh, well, we're going to go to this mega camp, this mega camp, this mega camp, Northwestern, Purdue, and this. And I'm like, whoa. But let's not do that. Let's retake. There's nothing wrong with mega camps. There's some are positive. There's positive and negatives with mega camps. That's a whole hour discussion in itself. But you really got to pinpoint those camps and be productive with your time in the summertime. And I think that's huge. And a lot of the one day specifics, because I have all the time, I want to go this, I'm a MAC kid. I have a lot. I think one of the biggest the hardest area to help with recruiting is that kid that's a GLIAC/MAC tweener. And you don't know what he is, whether he's a D1 MAC kid or a D2 GLIAC, high-level D2 GLIAC type kid. And a lot of the time, those guys want to spend a lot of their time at like MAC camps. And that's fine. You still have to go to those MAC camps, don't get me wrong. But I always try to get them to go to those GLIAC one-day camps. You're right. Comparing, at Eastern Michigan, do a phenomenal job over there.
They do. Shout out to Coach Creighton and all of them. I love EMU. They got a great program.
Coach Collette is an awesome human being.
Man, that dude is for sure.
Yeah, Coach Collette is an amazing human being. And talk to him every single time with, especially when they hold their midweek Maction camp. It's a camp that I'm a huge advocate for. But I tell those same guys, you have however many kids at that, right? Couple, 500, whatever. Okay. And then, midweek Maction, probably close to 1,000, right? Let's be real.
Right.
And then, you go down the road, go to Wayne State one-day camp or the Davenport, Ferris State, Grand Valley, even the top dogs like Ferris and Grand Valley. Grand Valley has one-day camp. There was 150 kids, I believe, that won this year. Whatever. Like, you get a real look. You're going to 150 kids. How many old linemen are there? 15?
Right.
20? You're going to get reps. You're going to get better. You're going to get coached by college coaches. Like, man, go to those camps, seize those opportunities. And everyone's like, oh, I'm not going to a D3 camp. Are you kidding me? There's even less there. You're going to get personal one-on-one time with a college coach. And if anything, if you still think you are that hotshot D2 kid and you don't want to waste your time going to a D3 camp, I guarantee you leave with something. And you should. And if you don't embrace that mindset, the fault lies with you. And you can go learn something from a very good football coach, what that's doing that position group for that day. I guarantee you.
I agree with that, man. 100%. 100%. That's you are, I'm not gonna lie, man, you're the dude when it comes to this. Like you got some great knowledge, man. I could already tell we could talk about this for forever, to be honest with you. Coach, we do a coach's corner every week. And excuse me, you actually mentioned this. This was my coach's corner for today, and it's just kind of like our coaching point of the week. Something that I've been thinking of, but you actually said this earlier. Be where your feet are, stay focused in the moment. So I find that, and I should have probably mentioned this earlier when we were having the conversation about being busy, but I find that not letting your mind wander to the next thing, staying where you're at until it's finished is the best way to do it. Meaning, I run a business. I'm not thinking about my business while I'm breaking down film. I'm not thinking about football while I'm coming up with our next marketing plan for fall. I'm not crisscrossing these things. And it's the organizational thing, but it's organizational thoughts too, right? So I'm always focused where I'm at. I always have a schedule, and I just make sure to take care of each part of that schedule accordingly.
100%. A lot of that's discipline too, right?
Big time. 100. Yeah, big time. I mean, that might be the most important part, right? Just to be where you're supposed to be, right? Be where your feet are supposed to be, and then
100%.
do what you're supposed to.
100%.
Coach, we always before we jump out of here, man, I know we're running a little late here. We're just going to ask you a few more questions. Just out of curiosity, how can we improve high school football in Michigan?
I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. I think it should be a requirement, almost like an athletic trainer, to have a full-time strength and conditioning coach. I really do. I'm a firm, huge advocate for that. I'm in a bunch of different Facebook groups that talk about that. Outside other states, in Texas, you don't find a high school that doesn't have a full-time, multiple.
That's facts.
Coaches, and that goes for injury prevention, player safety. Once again, mental health, building relationships. Mental health and the exercise and the hormones, all that stuff. It's huge. And to coincide with that, it's just a typical greedy football coach. But I think we need some spring football here in Michigan. But,
yep.
I've been saying that for quite some time.
We talk about it on this show. Coach Poe and I talked about it. We talk about it often on this show, and we have football guys on, or football coaches. We actually talked about it with a couple student athletes. But yeah, we talk about it a lot. It's a conversation that, I don't know. I think the more you talk about things in life, the more you kind of spark change. Right. So I think, every little voice, every little platform matters as far as pushing change. And I think the more people hear that, that's kind of a thing that needs to be done, the closer we are to getting it done. So we do like to bring it up quite a bit here, but no, I agree, man. Spring ball should definitely be a thing.
100%. That's something that Poe, I'm really close with Poe. That's my guy. That's my brother, man. And that's something that him and I talk a lot about when we first met. And what can we do to get that to happen, and this and that. Two young coaches in the game, just talking, and it'd be really nice to have spring ball. I think it helps a lot too. I think it helps in a school like Clintondale where we struggle with attendance issues and grades and those things, and truly think that it would fix a lot of those things that we just grades and attendance both, and mental health, and the list goes on and on. I think it helps with all three of those factors personally.
No, I agree. I agree. And then it also, I just think like all that ties into this as well, but we just need we need to touch base with our kids, right? We need to be able to just kind of see how they're doing. Cause we both know this, not every kid shows up to football, in the off season and in strength and conditioning. Some of them show up in August or July or 7-on-7. And so I think, making spring ball something that we could kind of do it gives us a chance to kind of touch base more with the kids, and I think that would be huge for, especially if you're a new coach at a new school, right? To get to know your kids a little bit more. Like that's another scenario, just kind of a sub scenario there, but like equally as important. But no, I agree. Definitely should be something. Plus other states have done it and found a way to do it. So we got to be able to do it ourselves as well.
100%. And when you do it at the college level, I don't see, high school, college. It's not. I know it's going to sound. I know you're going to understand what I'm saying by this, but it's not that different in regards to. I mean, it is, and it's not. I hear that,
Yep.
but at the same time, we're able to do it at the college level. I don't see the huge difference with the high school level. With that, I think if anything, it's a positive change. I don't see too much negative that goes into that besides possibly impacting track and field, baseball, softball in negative ways, which I'm a huge advocate for those sports as well. Nothing wrong with that. But I think that there'd be a way to work around that. Practice in the mornings.
Right.
Whatever. Let's go on. But you get the point.
Logistics are tough when you start anything. So to me, it's just like, do it and let's figure out the details. Like, it's just one of those things, man, where I'm like, let's make it happen and we can figure out the details as we go.
100%.
You know what I mean? So, Coach, every week we kind of do like a barbershop talk. I'm sure you've been into a barbershop before. And it's always a bunch of dudes talking sports, right? Or talking politics or whatever. So out of curiosity, I'm not sure if you're a college football guy, but if you are, who's your Final Four this year and who's your champion?
Oh, man. I'm a Michigan guy, so that's first and foremost, right? So
Me too.
We gotta have that in there. I haven't put much thought into the other Final Four. I'm a huge Big Ten guy. I watch Big Ten SEC ball a lot.
Do you think, out of curiosity, let me ask you this then? Do you think Michigan has, like some people are saying this, there's a realistic chance this year? Do you think this is the year they have an actual chance?
I do, man. It's just what Harbaugh has been able to build over there. And I'm not the typical, crazy Michigan fan, that stereotype that goes into that. I'm very well aware of what that looks like and what that is. I have friends that are that, but he's been able to build this run game and the best offensive line in the country 2 years in a row. What we're returning, the transfers that we got in, that's a no brainer. You have the best running back duo in the country. That's also a no brainer. When you're able to run the football, every offensive and defensive, every coach knows this. When you're able to run the football and you are able to run the football at will whenever you want to, it opens up everything else.
Yep.
You have a talented mobile quarterback back there that's able to sling the rock. Receiver room's returning for the most part. Tight end room is up there as well. That's something that's not getting a lot of love right now. That's very high level of play. A lot of the defense returning on that side of the ball too. Don't get me wrong, that's equally as important, but I'm an offensive guy, so I'm going to talk about offense. The offensive line room's top in the country. Running back duo's top in the country. You should be able to contend with any team that you want. Typical stereotype is Big Ten slow football, SEC's explosive, fast football, and they're running into some issues with that. I think Harbaugh's done a great job in recruiting too, bringing in some talented, fast dudes and some athletes, and transfers have been phenomenal. Of any year, I do think. Now, I also said that last year, and I did not say that the year before, for the record. So I think last year, still trying to figure out what happened in that TCU game. But that's a conversation for another day, I suppose.
Oh, man. I think a couple things could really. I think if JJ improves, not that JJ isn't great, but I think JJ can still take another step, and I think he will. I think if Cornelius Johnson or one of these receivers can kind of find a good rhythm and become kind of a go-to guy, similar to what they had with like Ronnie Bell, and then I think, man, honestly, I think if they are able to move Donovan Edwards around and let him catch some passes out of the slot and let him run, and let him do some different things, and even get him and Corum on the field together a decent amount, like my God, that starts to look scary, man. Like that's the ways I think they beat Georgia is a better JJ, just a crisp JJ. 2 pick sixes against TCU didn't help his case. And I think if JJ gets solid, just keeps improving. JJ was already solid, but keeps improving, and those other couple things happen, like Michigan could definitely, I think, strike and have a chance.
I agree. I'd like to see a little bit of the two-back set too. I've never been a huge two-back type guy as far as an offensive coordinator goes.
Yep, same.
And I've actually installed because of Mike's like, hey man, we're gonna look at a two-back set, and I was like, okay. Guy played running back. I'm gonna take his opinion on it, and we installed the two-back set, and the fun that you can have when you, especially at that level of play, when you have two of those, when those are your two backs, Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, possibilities are endless. You get really creative. The question is, do you have to get that creative? You don't have to probably till you get to the game, but nonetheless, little two back set stuff to have in your back pocket, I think would be a good idea for them.
I definitely agree. Coach, we're going to go through a couple more things and then have you just drop a link at the end here for yourself and Legacy. Our student athletes of the week. We don't have a lot of sports going on right now, but so the Monroe County and surrounding, that obviously downriver, even out by you, just anybody in the state of Michigan right now who's getting ready to start their volleyball or their football seasons. Obviously football, we kick off on Friday or Thursday for some teams. And then volleyball also gets started here very soon. So we just, our athletes of the week are both of these groups of student athletes who have been working to get ready for their seasons. Obviously us football guys all just came out of our 2-a-days or camp or whatever your, whatever your coaches call that week or that, that period of time. So coming out of that, hopefully everybody has a safe and great season. And again, those are our student athletes of the week. We'll be able to start giving out a particular student athlete of the week again here come Friday, right? Come Thursday or Friday when football hits, we'll have another student athlete of the week as sports ramp back up. So on this day in sports, 1920, American Pro Football Association forms, later to become the NFL. So in 1920, on this day, basically the NFL was born. The president was Jim Thorpe. So I thought that was, when I read that today, I was like, holy crap, that might be one of the coolest on this day facts that we ever could have got on a Sunday. So damn, the NFL born on today in 1920. Coach, we're going to get a few links and then we are out of here. So Kennedy Health and Wellness, you can find us at Facebook and Instagram or KennedyHealthWellness.com. Brain Jerk Entertainment at Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Kicking It with Coach K at Facebook and Instagram. You can find my personal Instagram at Coach K1993. And Coach, where can we find you in Legacy?
Yeah, absolutely. My Twitter is Coach__Zim, Zimm. And then obviously on the Legacy website, if you type in Legacy Sports Center, you go under sports, football will pop up. All the way at the bottom of that on that tab is recruiting. We have our own recruiting page. You can even drop questions into there. I get them directly sent to my email, have all of our upcoming camps and all of that. But one of the easiest ways to reach me, Legacy Recruiting Twitter account, which is one of the first things that will pop up when you search that, or at Coach__Zim, Zimm. I say it on every single podcast I've been on all my recruiting seminars. Like, I do not care if you have any recruiting question. I'm more than happy to answer that for, any of the student athletes that are listening to this whatsoever. I remember what it was like to go through that with zero guidance whatsoever. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help.
I love that, Coach, and appreciate you for coming on today. There's something that I got going on. I can't say yet, but there is something that I have going on in the coaching world. Coming early next year, and you obviously could probably put the pieces together of what time frame that is for coaches in that February, March time frame. But I'm going to get in contact with you about potentially doing some stuff together. So we will talk soon, Coach. And I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing a ton of knowledge today on recruiting, your story, just a lot, man. And again, just you're somebody who really, really is impact first. And again, like our quote said today, really believes in the details and why you do the things you do. And I think you are a very important voice to have on the show tonight, man. We big time appreciate you.
I big time appreciate you guys, man, for even running this, and putting that word out there, the mental health stuff that we spoke about today, man. And I appreciate you hitting me up to get on, man. Truly a blessing. I'm not truly a blessing. Appreciate it, brother.
Definitely, Coach. Listen, the other thing I want to say is good luck Friday, my man. Have a great game Friday. Best of luck. May all your kids stay safe, and may you guys go compete like crazy and have an awesome game Friday night.
You as well, brother. We're Thursday night. I think you said earlier you guys are Friday night.
Thursday, yup. We're Friday night. Yup. We got a big rivalry game on Friday already, so we're pumped.
Good luck, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. If you missed it earlier at 5:00, we had Frank from Friday Night Victors on. We talked a little bit about officiating and Friday Night Victors and the things they're doing here in Monroe County. Next week, we have a double header with Delmar Hoskins and Mike Torchia. So if you guys know, Mike was a NHL goalie. So Mike is going to join the show. We are extremely blessed to have him on. And then Delmar Hoskins is the basketball coach at Carlson. So shout out to Delmar. Glad to have him on as well. We will see you guys next week. Thank you, guys.